Today we have the privilege of speaking with Loi Luu from Kyber Network, the decentralized exchange service that enables instant conversion of crypto assets. Hi, Loi.
Hi, Adi. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for joining our show. In any case, anyone doesn't know what Kyber is all about, could you give us just a brief explanation of Kyber Network?
Sure. So Kyber Network is a decentralized exchange that allows seamless and secure token conversion with guaranteed liquidity. So we run entirely on the blockchain. We allow secure exchanging of crypto tokens with no single point of failure, and making it extremely difficult to compromise our exchange. Additionally, we also provide or serve as a payment service provider with our token conversion service. So imagine that you are a merchant and you only accept some certain type of crypto, for example, Ethereum, right? So with our service, you can allow your user to pay from any other tokens, and the conversion will be powered by Kyber Network in the background.
So you guys also have a wallet that that enables all this.
The idea is that because we run entirely on the blockchain, using our smart contract, right? So other platforms, they can just interact directly with our smart contract. So we can work with any other wallets out there, that the user are already using. So we don't have to build our own wallet.
So you recently announced a partnership with one of the wallets, right? Do you want to elaborate on that?
Sure. So recently we actually announced a partnership with 3 more wallets. One of them is IAM Token, and they have, I think, more than 1 million monthly active users, and they are the most popular wallet in China. So with this partnership, their users can just use the exchange service powered by Kyber within the IAM Token wallet, and their coins or tokens never have to leave the wallet. Or never have to go to any other central exchanges when they want to do the exchange. They can do everything within the IAM Token wallet.
So we'll get back to that, but your token sale ended successfully in mid-September 2017, which in token sale terms is like prehistory, right? You've raised 200K Ether, which was back then equivalent to $60 million from over 21,000 wallets across 130 countries. That's very impressive. I assume you have an interesting perspective today as to how the token sales scene kind of evolved ever since. And I'd really like to pick your brain and understand if you can share like your thoughts on the token sale evolution, right?
Right. Interesting question. So, I mean, back then when we did our token sale, it was like, last September. It's around like 6 months already. In crypto world, right? 6 months is like a long time, and so many things have changed. So from what we have, seen so far, more and more people are trying to, raising fund through token sale. We have been seeing more traditional startups, even, startups that have done, Series A, or getting funding from other VCs to starting tokenizing their own products. It creates a lot of I think crypto is and token sales is getting more traction, so which is good because now we can actually reach out to more mainstream users. But at the same time, I think we really need like some sort of standard or some framework that project and people, if they want to do the token sale, they need to follow that. From what we have seen so far, not many. I mean, like everyone is like trying to do the token sale in their own way, right? So there's no consistent way, or there's no like guideline for people to do the token sale. So that's why many people actually abuse it and just create some sort of like scam project and raise the money and run away. So that is going to affect like the entire ecosystem, because now some people they may just see that token sale is just a get rich quick scheme, right? It doesn't actually provide anything useful to the entire ecosystem. So we need to prevent that. So several countries already have or are working on their own regulation framework for token sale and some sort of like guideline. Even here in Singapore, there's just really some sort of like token sale guideline. If you do this, you do that, then you don't have to get any approval from the MAS or the central bank here. But if you have this sort of like offer in your white paper or in your token sale, then your token sale will fall under this sort of like regulation. So you probably need to get some license. Yeah. So I think token sale is still in the early days. So we need to wait for probably a couple of years until things get more stable and the picture is more clear.
Yeah, I agree. I think that when you look at the crypto scene, obviously we needed token sales back at the time with Mastercoin introducing their ICO in 2013 because no one was willing to fund blockchain technology. So actual crypto enthusiasts started funding their own projects, and kind of the technology met the funding of people who understand what they're actually backing. And I think that with the hype and everything that occurred in 2017, as you're saying, I mean, it's become like the wild, wild west. And as in the internet, when the internet bubble emerged, then the people who lost their money or bet on their money were investors, backing entrepreneurs with like a presentation. But today, because it's the crowd, I think we all have, as you said, the responsibility of making sure that there's some sort of like guidelines or just to know how to differentiate between a scam, because there's so many amazing projects out there like Kyber, right? So you don't want that whole wonderful mechanism of token sales to be tainted by the scams out there. I'm wondering, what were your considerations when you were thinking about doing a token sale? Is it like a go-to marketing or a more a strategy of getting to your users and your backers initially, or was it like a more funding kind of a strategy, or maybe a mix of both?
I think we took a careful approach in our token sale. So we were the first to actually do the full KYC on all the contributors in our token sale. So we got something like 60,000 people submitted their applications to clear the KYC, and we worked like I think for more than 10 days to approve more than 40,000 applications. And besides, right, so we also like created our own MVP or some sort of like demo on testnet, so that the users they actually learn about our product and understand what we are offering at Kyber Network. We didn't do a lot of like viral marketing or some sort of like I think people have some different terms for it, some sort of marketing bounties or campaigns, in which they ask people like to advertise about the product and then give the rewards or tokens to these people. So we didn't do anything of this back then. But what we did was that we create the only platform that we advertise our product is on our blog post. So in which we explain everything from our roadmap, our architecture, what are the other applications that we support in our platform. So we try to educate our users. We try to engage with them like on all the channels as well, Telegram and Slack. We get something like I think around 10 moderators on our Slack channel to answer every question that the user asks. So that our Slack channel back then got something like 30,000 people, and it broke like the entire like record of Slack. So Slack eventually approached us and asked us to close the invitation link. But anyway, so we token sale we did a lot of education and engage with the user so that they know what they are buying into, instead of like just trying to raise the money by all costs, right?
So it seems like you took the being responsible, thinking long term, really building your asset, which is your initial users and investors and followers. And also, it seems to me like you guys were very hands on, right? Today there are like token sales in which they take like external parties to do that for them, the social or whatnot. And then I think that there's like not the actual team who are enthusiastic about it and know all the answers, and and you're getting the feedback without any mediators. I'm not saying it's not good to take an external team. I just think that what you're talking about is like a more direct approach of this is us, this is what we're going to do. Everything is very transparent, and then there's like an a very direct conversation with whoever will be your initial fans and the people who will bring Kyber to success alongside with the team. So that's very impressive, and I would like to see more token sales today. I think that was something that was back in September, but maybe today there's like too many people involved, and not only the founders themselves. Was the fact that the founding team, you guys were together quite some time before you introduced Kyber? You had your founders working together on Smart Pool, and I'm assuming that knowing like how to work with your partners and knowing like each partner what is he good at and how do you kind of work together really helps in this very intensive months building up to the token sale event. Do you have any insights on that, on like the partners that you go on this journey? Like, were there any insights learned there?
Yeah, so I mean, like, if the token sale process is a really intense process, to be honest. It requires a lot of like, I mean, like just take, building the smart contract for the token sale as an example, right? It's going to require a lot of, careful and protection, because now your smart contract is going to handle a lot of money. For example, in our token sale, we got something like 200,000 Ether there, right? So if there's any security flaw, or if one of our partners, did something malicious with the smart contract, then, the entire, process is going to be, like,
compromised.
all exactly, the entire process is going to be compromised, and we cannot do it ever again, because our reputation is damaged, right? So having, because we have been like working with each other on other projects before Kyber Network, so we know that these are the people that we can trust, and they have the ability to create some secure platform to allow thousands of people to transfer their fund there. So that's why it's really important to actually work with the people that and you already can verify their ability, instead of like just going to the market and asking for new random people to join and, hey, I have this idea. We are going to raise millions from this token sale. You want to join and be one of our co-founders? I think it's going to be really dangerous if people ever do it.
So when you look at other projects in our space, like what are you looking at that maybe in terms of the team that could be like a no-no, or something that is significant in your eyes in building the team?
Yeah, I mean, like, if you look at the team and we see their track record, right? For a few teams, you can just see that, hey, this guy are just they are doing the token sale just to grab the money, and I don't think they can contribute anything to this ecosystem. But most of the time you cannot like really do enough sort of like scrutiny to investigate the team, because they can just fake everything, right? They can just say that they have been working on X, Y, Z, and you have no resources to actually dig deep enough to verify their claims. So that's why I think this entire the current status of the token sale is that so many people are doing it, and we don't have enough people to actually do the due diligence on other teams. So that's why we allow so many scammers to come in this space.
Yeah, I saw one of the token sales that one of the QA members was Ryan Gosling, which is like a Hollywood star, so they didn't even, that's
exactly
horrible, isn't it? Okay, so just moving on to the next question. You really have like an engaged community from what I've seen, in your Telegram and everything. Like, people keep on asking questions and are very interested in, like every announcement and everything that goes on Kyber, obviously. And what I've seen is like they expect like major announcements every 2 weeks. You guys are releasing your progress updates, which I think is amazing for your community. But don't you find it like quite challenging to have concrete announcements in such short periods? Like, doesn't it take more time to establish partnerships and build a product and reach the milestones? And like, how does this affect, the decision making of having to work in these sprints and having every 2 weeks like major announcements or partnership deals or whatnot?
Yes, so it does affect our decision making, because most of the time we will have like a couple, couple of staffs, right, who will just, engage with the community, listen to their feedback, and see, what they really expect from the team. And also, they and then we sit together and we discuss internally to see whether what we are doing will eventually match what the community are expecting. But because we sort of like separate the team, right? The people who are working on the products, the people who are working on the marketing, business, and establishing new partnership are going to be different people, so that we the product people won't get disturbed by random question on Twitter or on Telegram. But at the same time, we also have people to taking care of the community, so that the community will know that what we are working on, and what they should expect in a near or long future. Yeah, but it's gonna require some resources for us to do all of that. But that's why our team already grow from when we did our token sale, we had around 7 people, but currently we already have more than 30 people.
Wow. Yeah, I think that's one of the amazing kind of evolutions that is occurring. That the CEOs such as yourself and your partners are very attentive and listening to what the actual users are requesting. There's like this direct link, right? So what you said, you're sitting together with the feedback from the ground, from your social team, from the product, and everyone's building something that is not detached from what your actual users are asking for. Obviously, with looking at your strategy ahead. So I think that's as you said, if you guys are really taking that into consideration, I think that's very valuable for your followers and eventually for your success, right? Like you're actually building something that people are asking for.
Exactly. So I mean, one of the example that I can give is that I guess a couple of months ago, our community complains a lot about us not reaching out to the other mainstream people. That we didn't do enough marketing, and people in China didn't hear enough about Kyber Network. Yeah, so we listened to them, and we also did our own survey, right? So we fly a couple of staff to China, talk to the project over there, talk to the committee over there to see what they know and understand about Kyber Network, and we realized that people actually didn't know much about us. So that's why we started hiring more marketing people to do more outreach, build more community in China and in other countries as well. So that is one of the example, how we actually listen and learn from the community to improve our progress.
I think that's something that should be very much valued and acknowledged. It's not something that necessarily occurs in other projects or non-blockchain projects. So I saw that you recently announced that you're opening your public beta on the mainnet. So congratulations on that. How supportive has the community been each time you deliver or you reach yet another major milestone?
Yeah, so the community is super supportive. They try out our product, and they also gave us a lot of feedback to improve the product so that it's gonna attract more users. So we are getting decent volumes. We got something around 300 to 400 active users every day, and the volume is getting better and better every day after all the integration with other wallets, with other platforms. And we also planning to list more tokens, offer more products on our platform soon as well.
When I'm looking at the industry that you're in, right, the decentralized exchanges, it seems to me that there's a kind of everything is decentralized. The technology, everything is very distributed, open, transparent, open source, and then you come to the exchanges. Like how are you creating money or tokens with smart contracts? How are you transferring them P2P? People are transferring directly, and then when it comes to trading tokens, it seems as if like the centralized approach of exchanges really doesn't fit the values of of blockchain and everything around. And I'm wondering, how do you see, or how is your kind of long-term vision as to decentralizing the exchanges. Obviously, Kyber is doing that, but what is your perspective on your industry with so many centralized exchanges out there?
Yes, so I mean, I guess almost a year ago, after Kyber Network, we started thinking about, what are the other problems that we should address in this space, right? And we realized that, cryptocurrency exchanges are still the most centralized component in this, entire decentralized and trustless environment. So that's why we wanted to create something that is really impactful and something that is going to benefit the entire ecosystem that has millions of people. But currently most of the users, they come into they use centralized exchanges because of several reasons. First of all, centralized exchanges still have the access to fiat. Not many decentralized exchanges. I don't think there's any that can offer trading between tokens and maybe Korean won or US dollars. Centralized exchanges are still doing that best. So that's why people still prefer them. Secondly, I think centralized exchanges, they have a long history of building an exchange, right? I think they get a lot of inspiration from other trading platforms in stock or in other financial products. That's why the user experience and the how to secure the exchange, they already have it there. I think they leverage a lot from the traditional world. But when it comes to decentralized exchanges, I think it's pretty new. It's like most of the decentralized exchanges are almost a year. I think less than 1 year old, and they still have a lot to do to improve the user experience, the UI, the engine and everything. So I think in a near future, centralized exchanges are still dominating this trading community. But I would say in around 5 to 10 years, the centralized exchanges are going to take over everything. Given that it's gonna be the UI, UX, and everything are gonna be improved, and of course we do not compromise any security and trustless properties that other decentralized exchanges already offer.
Could you share more about the distributed reserve managers in the Kyber Network solution?
So this is something that currently we do not have, but we will probably have it in the future. So the idea here is that the reserve in a platform can be some public smart contract in which people can actually contribute their reserve or their idle asset into the smart contract, and we can have someone else who has the trading experience to manage this reserve. So people can have several rules and enforcement to protect themselves from this malicious reserve manager. The reserve manager can only quote the price, can only offer the price on Kyber Network platform. They cannot withdraw the money to his own wallet, for example. So several people have been working on decentralized fund management platform, right? For example, Melonpot is one. So later on, we can just leverage whatever Melonpot has been building and have it in our platform as one of the public reserve for all the users to together fund this reserve and enjoy the profit from it.
So one of the nice things about that is that obviously you're collaborating with other players like Melonport and in this ecosystem, but also you're enabling anyone who wants to be a reserve manager to do so, and then the public will be able to see, or the followers will be able to see who's kind of the best performer. Is it based on performance, or how does it, or is it just allocating your assets in the reserve?
Yeah, so it can be based on performance, right? If there are several public reserve, and people can see how much everyone is making, and of course people will have the incentive to follow the best performance.
I like solutions in which they show that they're bringing the ecosystem together, but then they're just one of the players in this ecosystem, and there's a lot of collaboration, right, going on. So I think that's one of the values that I really champion for in blockchain technology, is that, okay, you don't need to control everything, the whole supply chain, but rather you can give more access to other people in the ecosystem, whether individuals, super users, other platforms. So I don't know if everyone is kind of understanding exactly what you're saying, but I really like that, and I appreciate it a lot.
Yeah. So I mean, like speaking of like bringing everyone together, so that is also one of the mission that Kyber is following. So I mean, people are more and more people are creating their own, coins and tokens in their platform, right? And later on, they will require then, the user to have the native token to actually be able to use their own platform. So it's going to be like really difficult for the user to acquire thousands of different tokens if they wanted to use different applications on the blockchain. So Kyber mission is that we want to be the sort of like facilitator that sit in the middle, and now user can just acquire only one token, maybe like Ethereum, and if they wanted to use other platform, they can just like send the Ether to Kyber, and Kyber can just convert that token to the native token of the platform, and now the user can start using the platform without the hassle of acquiring the other token on other platform. So that is I guess we aim to bring the convenience to the user, and at the same time we can like connect every platform together so that they can easily integrate with each other without having to acquire some other tokens in the first place. Yeah. So, but in order to do that, we need more and more platforms to deliver the product. Otherwise, it's still just a promise.
Yeah, it's everything is just it's there's a lot of vision, but at least there's like a clear path of where the vision is heading, right? And it's heading towards I had a question about competition, and we covered that, but I think that in our ecosystem, obviously there is competition, but competition can also competition is good because there are more people out there who are championing and communicating the vision of lots of tokens, and it needs to be seamless, and you need to be able to pay with or access all sorts of services without going to an exchange and buying the tokens. Everything is kind of transferred seamlessly for the end user. So I think that everyone who is kind of sharing that decentralized vision and bringing everyone together, and that's kind of, it benefits everyone. So that's like my opinion on that. What just back to the token sale, really from your experience and perspective and seeing all these token sale projects, what do you advise fellow entrepreneurs to focus on during their token sale? Like, what are the primary maybe challenges or hurdles that they need to overcome to conduct a successful campaign, and just from your perspective and obviously lots of experience?
I think they really need to focus on the product or the solution that they are trying to sell. If they can create a good product, if they have a good system solving a real problem, then I don't think they will have any problem in selling the product to the end users. There will be a lot of people that are lining up to help you to do a successful token sale if you can actually have a good solutions and have a good team. So just focus on the product. Do not do not let the hype or other people to detract you from creating an excellent and awesome platform to offer to the users.
So it's just the same as any startup or technological solution, right? That is raising funds. It's focused on what you're trying to solve and not on how much money you're raising, right? Be passionate about what you're kind of doing. I'm wondering what's your take on airdrops? I know that you guys conducted maybe one of the earlier airdrops back at the time when it just became popular. And looking back at this go-to-marketing strategy, is it fruitful? Did it bring fruitful results? And how would you advise today companies who want to conduct? Because what I'm seeing with companies that I work with is that part of their solution for distributing the token, okay, we'll just do an airdrop. But if you're going to airdrop a token that I don't care about, that's not going to necessarily engage me with your product, right? It's like giving me a gift certificate to a store that I will never visit. So what's your take on the use of airdrops nowadays?
So previously when we did our airdrop, so we airdrop to only the people who actually register and did the KYC in our platform. So we airdrop to the people who actually care about our product. nowadays I think people are using airdrop as as some sort of like marketing activity, trying to get more people, get their token to more people, more users, right? So some of them do it via exchanges. So they just airdrop to all the exchange users who probably like have some certain amounts of ether or some other tokens on the exchange. Some just send it to any address that they can grab on Etherscan or on some other platform. So that is actually similar to like spamming in some sense, because I'm not expecting like to receive anything from you, and you're just like creating like wasting my time to actually investigate, hey, what is this token and why do I have it, right? So I think airdrops should be done in a proper manner. You should only do the airdrop to sort of like develop your community, and only give it to the people that actually care about the product, that are trying to learn sort of like a few things about you, right? So some project, what they do is they create some sort of questionnaire, and if the people, if the users, they answer the questions correct, then they can get some tokens at some sort of reward. So that is some really good activity, because now you can educate your users at the same time as having your token to more wallets, to more users out there.
Yeah, I hear you. In regards to advisory boards, another like kind of major milestone in any campaign that wants to receive traction. Vitalik was on your advisory board, and for the benefit of other projects who are eager to attract like big names, maybe I don't know, maybe you get kind of addressed every once in a while to their advisory board. Like, what would you recommend them to do or not to do?
Well, this is really hard because I mean, like everyone is trying to get all the big names, right? And so I think we really need like to sort of like talk to all the big people as well. Like if they are really responsible in this space, then they should not like advise this whatever project, right? They really they should only advise the good project that they know personally, or that they have been working with a team, or things like that. I personally got a few other requests that just asked me to be the advisors without doing anything. So basically, just receive free token for my photo on their website. I said no to all of them because I don't think it makes sense, and I think it's not a really responsible way to the community if I just allow people to use my photos, right? Um, so when we asked Vitalik to be our advisors, we didn't think much, because we have been like working with Vitalik for on a different project. Even Smartpool, he's also one of the advisors, and so we were like, hey, you are my friend, so, and we have been working together on a few different projects. Are you willing to be one of our advisors in this new project? And he, I think back then he also didn't think much when he accepts our invitation. But I guess later on, people put more pressures on him, like why he advised this project and that project, and this project are doing something not really friendly to the Ethereum community. So that's why I think he stopped advising new project. And I think other people, they should also like think about all the consequences, or their responsibility to the community when they advise a new project as well.
And on the side of the entrepreneurs, like who do want to attract the names, like how can they, back at the time it was a small community, but today with more and more entrepreneurs, which are seasoned entrepreneurs, right, onboarding the crypto industry or the blockchain space, like how do you advise them to conduct, their just connections? And because the advisory board is a good thing, right? It's a good thing that Loi Luu, with all your experience, you can help other fellow entrepreneurs, which you're passionate about their projects. I think it's part of our responsibility, right, to share the knowledge, since it's such a new space, so there's a good aspect in being an advisor. But how do you think that they could, not yourself necessarily, but they could like reach? Because I know that each time in these conferences, like everyone gangs up on someone, and they're like, they want their 1 minute in order to attract you to become their advisor. So how can they build those significant relationships, in your opinion?
I think relationship takes time, right? So you cannot like build any good relationship after like 1 minute of meeting at the conference. I think you really need like, in order like, to attract good people to advise your project, you really need like, to build some good track record. You need like, to be in the community, talk to the people, show them that you really know your stuff, and what you are building is has some sort of like contribution to the entire ecosystem. Of course, you can pay money to a lot of people. There are a lot of advisory service as well. They will charge you like a few ether or even like a lot of ether to give you the permission to use their photo or image on your website. But in the long run, I think people will actually recognize that who are the paid advisor and who are the actual advisor who do the work. So I think project, they also need to recognize these people as well.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. So obviously Kyber will enable people to interact with more tokens, to purchase, transfer tokens from one another. So just do you guys like strive to simplify access to crypto for everyone? What are the primary challenges, or I think just what would you define success on your path, on Kyber's path in like a few years from now? Where do you see you guys like on kind of achieving the success? What would the metrics be?
Right. So our main services, including a decentralized chains in which people can just easily convert from one token to different tokens. Another service that we really want to push forward in the next couple of years is that we want to be the payment service providers in this crypto ecosystem, something similar to Visa or MasterCard is doing in a real world. So we want the users to be able to purchase from any tokens, and the recipient will just receive in whatever token that they want to receive. And this process must happens sort of like seamlessly, that people do not even aware that their payment is routed via Kyber Network. Another service that we also want to really want to focus in the near future is the integration with other dApps and other on-chain components on Ethereum network. So for example, we can create some sort of on-chain liquidity pool for example, derivative exchange, right? So when they want to liquidate some of their products, they can just like do it via Kyber. And some people, they offer lending on-chain, and if they wanted to also like liquidate some of the bad debt, right, they can just like send it to Kyber and do the conversion there. So a lot of these are gonna be surrounding our token conversion services. So we wanted to really push it to more and more platforms, to more businesses, to more dApps, so that they can just offer our product in the background to their users. So that is our main vision in the next sort of like 3 to 4 years.
So with that vision, I really want to thank you, Loi, for me, it was very interesting to speak with you and really to see like the values and your passion, and the way that you're responsibly taking Kyber to its next phases. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. It's been great.